The room fell silent when they opened my old leather bag. Flashlights swept over scalpels wrapped in linen. "Why would a janitor carry surgical tools?" the agent asked coldly. My throat tightened. "Because," I whispered, "I used to save lives with them." The word doctor lingered in the air, a ghost of who I was. I'm Zara Fleming, 38. For 3 years, I've worked the night shift cleaning floors at Kennedy International Airport. They call me Quiet Zara. I move through empty halls with my mop and bucket, unnoticed, invisible. No one knows I once wore white coats instead of gloves that smell of bleach. I used to be a surgeon. Graduated from Johns Hopkins. I lived for the sound of heart monitors and the quiet after a patient's first breath. Until one day I saw something I shouldn't. Falsified bills, stolen insurance funds. I reported it. They destroyed me. Documents forged, lies printed, my license suspended. The name Zara Fleming, MD, became a stain no one wanted to touch. 2 years later, the charges were dropped. But hospitals don't forget scandals. I became no one. A woman cleaning the same terminals where others boarded planes to futures I'd never reach again. Marcus, the only coworker who talks to me, once asked, "What did you do before this?" I smiled. "A job I can't return to." He thought I was joking. I didn't correct him. Every night before my shift, I open my old leather bag. Inside are my notes, faded certificates, and the tools I once trusted more than people. I tell myself I keep them as memories, but sometimes, when I touch the cold metal, I remember the weight of a life in my hands. That bag is all I have left of who I was. I never imagined it would betray me, that one random security check would tear open the secret I've carried for years. Now, under the glare of those lights, I see my reflection in their suspicion, and I realize you can't hide from the truth forever. I used to be Dr. Zara Fleming, the woman they once called the Heart Whisperer. I lived for the operating room, for the rhythm of the monitor, the steady hum before the first incision. Every heartbeat I saved felt like proof that I was born for this. My name meant something then. People trusted me. Patients smiled when I entered the room. And for a while, I believed that doing the right thing would always be enough. But the truth doesn't protect you. Sometimes it destroys you. It started quietly. A missing signature here. A duplicate invoice there. Numbers that didn't add up. At first, I thought it was a clerical mistake. Then I saw the pattern. Patients overcharged. Insurance billed for surgeries that never happened. A web of lies buried under medical codes. When I confronted the administrators, they smiled. That calm, practiced smile that hides rot. "Dr. Fleming," one of them said, "you're young. Don't involve yourself in things you don't understand." But I did. I reported it. Every document, every name. I thought I was serving justice. Instead, I handed them the knife they'd use against me. Overnight, the headlines changed. Renowned surgeon accused of fraud. They forged signatures, twisted testimony, erased context until I looked like the thief. My license was suspended. My reputation, gone. Colleagues stopped returning calls. Even my students avoided eye contact. 2 years later, the truth surfaced. The fraud was real. They were arrested. I was cleared. But by then, the damage was done. No hospital would touch me. To them, innocence didn't matter. Only the stain of scandal. I sold my apartment, packed what was left of my life into one old leather bag, and disappeared. I changed my name, stopped answering messages, told myself survival was enough. Now, every night, When I sweep the airport floors, I still hear the sound of heart monitors in my mind, a faint echo of who I used to be. Once, I healed people. Now I clean the ground they walk on, and somehow that feels like punishment and mercy at the same time. The nights are always cold here, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones, even when the air is still. Fluorescent lights buzz above my head, washing everything in pale yellow. By now, I've learned to move like a shadow, quiet, invisible, part of the background. People pass by without ever looking twice. That's the gift of anonymity. And its curse. Marcus is the only one who talks to me. He works the same shift, humming old songs as he mops the floors. Some nights he brings me coffee, cheap and bitter, but warm enough to remind me that kindness still exists. He once asked, "What did you do before this, Zara?" I smiled. "A job I can't go back to." He laughed, said something about bad bosses and second chances. I nodded, knowing there are mistakes the world never forgives, even when they weren't yours. During breaks, I sit in the windowless lounge, walls stained and tired. That's where I open my old leather bag. Inside, everything is just as I left it. Surgical notes, sketches of hearts and arteries. Sometimes I trace the lines with my finger, remembering how steady my hands used to be, how sure of purpose. Now my hands smell of disinfectant. They ache from scrubbing instead of saving. But in some strange way, cleaning feels familiar, precise, repetitive, controlled. Like surgery, only without the meaning. When the terminal falls silent at 3 a.m., I look out at the planes lined under the lights. Each one carries people going somewhere, leaving something behind. And I wonder if anyone ever thinks of the woman cleaning under their feet, the one who once made a heartbeat again. I tell myself this life is temporary, that one day I'll start over. But each time I clock in and hear the machine beep my name, I know I'm not Dr. Zara Fleming anymore, just the janitor who works the night shift and carries a past too heavy to speak of. It happened on a Tuesday night, the kind that feels endless when even time seems to sleep. The terminal was quiet, only the hum of machines and the echo of mops. Then the announcement broke through. "All personnel in Zone C, prepare for a security inspection." My stomach tightened. Marcus glanced at me. "Probably nothing," he said. But I knew better. Nothing ever stays buried. Two men in dark suits entered, badges glinting under the lights. Agent Coleman, tall, sharp-voiced. Agent Hayes, younger, quieter, observant. They moved with precision, checking lockers, bags, faces. When it was my turn, Coleman stopped. "Name?" "Zara Fleming." "Department?" "Maintenance, night shift." He nodded. "Open your bag." My breath caught. For 3 years, I'd carried that old leather bag like part of me, holding fragments of a life I no longer claimed. I hesitated. "Is there a problem, Ms. Fleming?" Hayes asked. I forced a smile. "No, sir, just... it's personal." "Everything personal is subject to inspection," Coleman replied. The zipper opened with a sound that felt too loud. Inside lay my notebooks, yellowed pages, surgical sketches, and then the tools, wrapped in linen, a scalpel, forceps, scissors. Coleman's eyes hardened. "Why would a janitor carry these?" My pulse roared in my ears. I could have lied, but the truth came out anyway. "I used to save lives with them," I whispered. Coleman looked to Hayes. "You were a doctor?" Hayes asked softly. I nodded. The words were cut deeper than I expected. For a moment, the terminal noise faded. My past lay open on that inspection table, and there was no way to close it again. Coleman's gloved hand froze over the contents of my bag. He lifted the small metal case, his reflection glinting in its surface. Inside lay the tools I once trusted more than people: a scalpel, a pair of forceps, surgical scissors still wrapped in sterile linen. His brows knit tightly. "Mangvat saknyon vaukuvokanin," he said, voice low but heavy. "You know that's a serious violation, don't you?" I didn't answer. My mouth felt dry. Every word I could have said would sound like an excuse. And I had learned that excuses never saved anyone. Coleman placed the case on the table with a dull thud. Hayes, standing beside him, noticed another envelope tucked deep in the bag. He slid it open carefully. A few papers slipped out: certificates, an old ID card, my graduation diploma from Johns Hopkins. Then letters. Some printed, some handwritten. Their ink faded by time. He read one silently, lips moving faintly. It was from a patient, a little girl's father, thanking me for saving her life. His expression softened. He picked up another, an official report clearing me of charges, dated 2 years after the scandal, and beside it, a copy of a newspaper clipping. Whistleblower surgeon vindicated as hospital executives found guilty. The air in the room shifted. The tension that had felt sharp enough to cut through steel began to thin. Coleman's grip loosened slightly, but his eyes still searched me, weighing every breath I took. Hayes looked at me, his voice lower now. "They're yours?" I nodded. For a second, I didn't trust myself to speak. Then quietly, almost like confessing to a sin, I said, "Yes, I was a doctor." Silence filled the room. No one moved. Only the hum of fluorescent lights above us broke the stillness. In front of them lay everything I had once been: the proof, the past, the life I had buried inside that worn-out bag. And as they stared at it, I realized something I hadn't felt in years. The truth no longer terrified me. Hayes studied the papers, lips parting as recognition flickered in his eyes. Then softly, "Zara Fleming?" The sound of my real name froze me. He looked up. "You're the Dr. Fleming, the whistleblower from Kingsley Medical." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Coleman pulled out his tablet, scanning through files. "She's right," he said finally. "Charges dropped. The hospital board was indicted last year." Hayes nodded slowly. "You were the one who exposed them. Without your report, they'd still be running that fraud." Silence filled the room. But it wasn't suspicion anymore. It was something closer to respect. Coleman exhaled, lowering his voice. "Dr. Fleming, we owe you an apology." I met his eyes. I stopped expecting anyone to know. That was the point. Hayes stepped closer. "The Bureau reopened the Kingsley case. Several executives vanished overseas. We're building a new task force. We've been looking for you." The words hit hard. For years I'd been invisible, and now the world that erased me suddenly wanted my truth. Coleman glanced at the open bag. "Your notes, your files, they could help us." He paused. "Would you cooperate?" Something inside me stirred. The part of me that once believed in justice. I nodded. "If it means the truth finally matters again." For the first time in years, the word doctor didn't sound like a wound. It sounded like a promise. Dr. Jennifer Walsh came to see me the following morning. Calm, confident, the kind of woman who didn't waste words. She shook my hand and said, "I've read your file, Dr. Fleming. You were one of the best." I didn't know how to respond. Compliments felt foreign, almost painful. She continued, "We need someone who understands medicine and this airport. You've lived both sides. Help us build a new national emergency medical program for airports." For a moment, I just stared at her. After everything, the cleaning shifts, the silence, the humiliation, she was offering me a way back. I thought of all the nights I'd spent walking those endless corridors, memorizing exits, knowing where people collapsed, where help arrived too late. 3 years of sweeping floors had taught me every weakness in this place, every second that could mean life or death. I realized maybe I had been preparing all along. I took a breath. "You're serious?" She smiled. "Completely." Something in me cracked open. Not fear, not regret, but hope. I nodded. "Then yes, I'll do it." Her handshake was firm. "Welcome back, doctor." And just like that, the woman I used to be, the one I thought was gone forever, began to breathe again. 3 months later, my license was reinstated. The letter came in a plain envelope, nothing dramatic, just a few official lines restoring what had once defined my life. But as I read it, my hands trembled. Not from relief, but from something deeper, the quiet disbelief that I had survived it all. Soon after, I was appointed Director of Airport Emergency Medical Services. Standing before the press that day, the flash of cameras felt strange, almost unreal. For years I had hidden from light. Now it found me again. I stepped to the podium, heart steady, voice clear. "I was once a doctor," I began, "then a janitor. But in both roles, I was still saving lives, one way or another. Titles can be taken, reputations can be destroyed, but purpose? Purpose stays." The room fell silent, and for the first time, I didn't feel the weight of my past, only the strength it had given me. In the months that followed, I created the Second Chances Medical Foundation, a fund to help doctors who had been wrongfully accused or silenced find their way back. It wasn't just charity, it was redemption, for them and for me. Some nights, I still walk through the terminal where I once cleaned floors. The smell of disinfectant brings back memories, but it no longer hurts. Now, when I look at my reflection in the glass, I see both versions of myself, the surgeon and the janitor. And I realize they were never enemies. They were both me. And as my voice fades into the quiet, I whisper the truth I've earned the right to say: justice may come late, but never too late to begin again.